Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Tuesday, the 30th of January. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Stevie Clifford. Great to have you on, Stevie. How's it going?
Derek, we were almost early there, weren't we? But I've got a new mic, and we were having technical difficulties in the background. Well, I was until Derek explained how you actually set it up. So at least we're on time, or at least we're not late, but we were almost early. And then I stopped it.
Yeah.
But I'm good, mate. Thank you. Well, I say good. I stayed up this morning until 4 a.m. gaming on the PS5 because it's my day off today. And I didn't even realise, Derek, normally when you play FIFA, if you play a couple of games, you've got to adjust to the time. Well, this wasn't FIFA. So, I got lost in it and it was a lot of fun. So,
What were you playing, Stevie?
RoboCop, Derek, for the PS5.
Wow.
It is unreal. And I got to the bit where I had to shoot Ed 209 and it took ages. So it was a lot of fun. So yes, folks, that's what I did with my, I'd say night, but mostly morning. I started playing at 11 o'clock and next thing I knew it was 10 to 4. So
So a tad bleary-eyed this morning, so if
there's a nap on the couch on the horizon today, Derek.
Yeah, I can imagine. Superb stuff. Right, folks, that's it. The gaming review done for now. Feels like Games Master here for those of us a certain vintage. But quick word for our podcast sponsors before we dive into all things Rangers. The MPH Group, folks, the links are in the description below. If you want some home improvements or even a new boiler, these are the guys to call. And remember, they've also got that brilliant deal on just now that you get entered into that prize draw for a 7-night stay at a 5-star resort over in Cancun in Mexico. Right, Stevie, let's talk Rangers. It's been quite an exciting last couple of days. It's fair to say not only are Rangers winning on the pitch, but there are moves afoot to strengthen the squad. When we did the video on Friday, it was shortly afterwards that Mohamed Diamande was announced. And then over the weekend, we've heard reports that Jefte and Oscar Cortes, the Lons winger, are edging closer to moves to Ibrox as well. I've seen that Cortes posted a very intriguing Instagram post last night in a hotel room, it looks like, tucking in to a lovely bit of salmon. So cue folk trying to decipher which hotel he's in, where he's staying in, which is fantastic stuff. It's all the transfer window shenanigans that goes on at this time of year. So those two edging closer to a move. Jose Cifuentes, as we said yesterday, folks, didn't fancy a move to Turkey. Now looks on the verge of signing for Cruzeiro over in Brazil, which would be a good move for him. On loan, hasn't quite worked out at Rangers. So it looks like he is, he does prefer a move back to South America and a move to Brazil. It looks like his likely destination. First of all, in the incoming, Stevie, players I can't say I know too much about, but it's quite exciting to see Rangers going for these sorts of players. On paper, they look quite exciting additions should they get them over the line.
Yeah, I expect Oscar Cortes deal to be done. So I'm expecting him to arrive on loan. And Jefte, I'm not sure about. Is that how you pronounce it? Are we going for Jefte?
Or Jefte? I'm sure he'll let us know as soon as he pitches up.
Right, Jeff will do fine for me on the left side, but I'm not so sure where that is. That's been kind of quiet after Fabrizio tweeted out about it. There's not been much.
This is what I've been told. So, there was an Applewell spokesman on Cypriot Radio yesterday, and he was asked about him. He's went AWOL since Thursday, didn't turn up for training, wasn't involved in their game over the weekend. Fluminense and Rangers haven't been in contact with them, but I don't see why they would do. I know Applewell had they have first dibs on buying him at the end of his loan spell, but they're seriously in debt and they don't really have much money to their name. So it looks like he's trying to push through a move, but it has gone a bit quiet, Stevie.
Yeah, so normally there's loads of speculation and you would hear like, oh, well, he'll arrive then. And we've not really heard anything like that. So I suppose we're just waiting. I said last week on the show, Derek, remember that with Niels Coppin now being here, a lot of what we do is probably going to be silent, and it'll be not until the kind of really end of it that we hear. And most of what's broken is being journalists actually in the homeland. It was the same for Diamande. That it was, I think it was Danish reporters, wasn't it, that very correctly called that as being game on. Incidentally, Derek, I think he is due to properly arrive in Scotland actually today. I think his red tape is sorted and his work permit and everything else. I know that he was supposed to arrive last week, and then that kind of set it back a wee bit, and we ended up going out there. So he should be here, which is great news. Maybe he will get involved in training towards the end of the week. That might be, something to look forward to if you're heading towards, maybe, I'd said at the time, maybe towards Ayr United is when we might see him at first.
Yep.
So that's a positive. And then obviously Jefte, I'm not sure where that is, like, genuinely, but Cortes, I'm kind of hopeful that he will arrive over the next couple of days. And he's quite an exciting one, Derek. Electric, this boy, really fast. And I know that he didn't play a lot for Lens. He's only played 40 minutes. Is it Lens or is it Lons? How are we pronouncing that one? But Lons, is it? Yeah, Lens is just such a Scottish butcher, isn't it? Lens, all right, Lens. So anyway, over there, he's played 40 minutes and just had 1 assist and 1 goal. But he was, I think he got 5 goals and 2 assists and 11 for Milionares in Brazil. And then obviously at the under-20s, he got 4 goals and 2 assists there. Look at me, Derek. I've been studying.
Yeah, so, check you
out. Probably copying Joshua too much. So, but he's got a kind of pedigree, I think, as an exciting youngster. And obviously you're buying somebody to try and progress, but this guy's fast and can play on the right-hand side. And we haven't had a right winger since the last time I could see my feet. So, it's been a long time. I'm really excited about seeing that. So, yeah, definitely exciting couple of days ahead, I think, to close the transfer window. It certainly beats the fact that we've been here before and everything's done and not much has been said. I think we could be in for an exciting couple of days in and out.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of questions coming in. First of all, I'll address this. Denzel says, by the background, looks like Derek is on remand. I'm just being called in shortly for my case, Denzel. No, I'm actually at my wife's workplace today. Been brought into an actual out the house for the day. Bring your husband to work day. So I'm in the wife's office over in Bolton for my son. So not on remand. So there you go. That clears that one up. In terms of Cifuentes, Stevie, it's a move that hasn't worked out, of course. I can see why he has struggled. It is a bit of a culture shock, perhaps, from living and playing over in America, and especially in Los Angeles, to moving to Glasgow. I know there's been off-field issues that he's had to deal with as well, that she's found it difficult. Didn't fancy a move to Turkey, don't blame him. And he's heading over to Brazil, that move edging closer as well. Doubt we'll see him. I mean, it's a loan, I think, with an option to buy. Doubt we'll see him in a Rangers jersey again. He was supposed to come to Rangers and take the club to the next level, but for whatever reason, Steve, it just hasn't quite worked for him.
It's maybe a wee bit telling that Michael Beale's first choice signature of the summer, Sam Lammers, is out the club, and then the one that he said was going to take us to the next level in Jose Cifuentes looks also like he's going to be leaving the club. So it shows you maybe how misplaced that was in the summer. But for him, if he's not happy here, I know he had a bit of a kind of breakdown, didn't he, on social media when he was talking about the loss of his other half and stuff. So I take it he's had a breakup or something's went wrong. But if he's in that place where he just wants out of Scotland and, he's not happy here, then, shake his hand, wish him all the best. It cost us the best part of £1 million. If we can get a wee bit of profit on that, I think there was talk of maybe a couple of £1 million options to Turkey. So if this is the same for the Brazilian side, then, great. I would be quite happy to see that work out for the club. He'll not be the only one that leaves, I'm sure, Derek. But at the end of the day, if he's not happy, he's not going to be contributing. I thought, do you know what, this is probably gives us an idea of how well Clement's doing, actually. But I thought he looked half decent away to Betis in the first 45 minutes. I thought he looked okay.
Yep.
But he was kind of showing small signs that he might actually be a player for us or decent enough for us. But I think that might be more to do. I'm starting to believe that maybe is more to do with the manager and how he's getting on. If we look at the last week of games, 3 big away results. Not unexpected, but these could be tricky games where we've had issues in the past. And I really liked it when Clement said, Derek, about, everybody's been telling him we need to start strong and there's been problems in the past. So I really liked that. And it shows that they're aware of what's going on and stuff. So
that's a talk.
Then, Derek, so she's having a wee tantrum. But
She's a Cifuentes fan, I guess.
Aye, she's not happy about it. But I mean, if he's not going to be contributing, then I'm quite, he's fine to move on, I think. But we need to also free up space. If Diamante's coming in midfield, then maybe he's not going to be needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to some interesting points that have been raised in the chats. First of all, just harping back to the start of the show, Broxy Loves the Rangers review says, yes, Stevie, the Robocop game is surprisingly good. So there you go. And Ali McInnes with an interesting point. I'll touch on this one. This is a great move, incidentally. He says, one for you, Derek. Should Rangers be monitoring the Calvin Ramsey situation for the summer, as I've seen he is signed for Bolton Wanderers on loan? Yes, that was a move confirmed yesterday. He's moved from Liverpool for the second half of the season. Incidentally, Dundee have got Owen Beck back for the second half of the season, which is also a great move for them. One to keep an eye on. A big fan of him. He was on loan at Preston for the first half of the season. Bolton managed to get him ahead of clubs like Leeds United because of the fact that Connor Bradley was on loan at Bolton last season and was outstanding, and he's now making a name for himself in that Liverpool first team. So there is a good relationship between both clubs. He's a player I like, Stevie. I know when he left Aberdeen initially, I was thinking, I think Liverpool paid a substantial fee for him. But he's certainly one to keep an eye on. Young lad, I think is he 20, just 2021. Certainly one to keep an eye on, I think, if he does well there. Whether he'll get a run in that Liverpool first team, I'm sure that is his aim. But one I think that Rangers should be looking at possibly. James Tavernier cannot continue forever. What do you make of Calvin Ramsey? You a fan?
Yeah, I mean, he's young, he's Scottish, isn't he? He showed plenty of promise at Aberdeen. He's very good in Football Manager. He ticks all the boxes, really. So I'm not sure that we've got a relationship with Liverpool like maybe Bolton do. I would think that if he was going out on loan, they'd maybe go over the road and ask them first.
I think they'd had a better relationship when Gerrard was here. Yeah,
possibly. But I also think that right back wise, Dujon Sterling is pretty much set in there. Adam Devine, we need to figure out if he's going to go out on loan maybe and get him some game time, because he looked fine when he came in. He looked like he might have a bit of promise. But if Dujon Sterling is where we're hanging our hat on for the right back position, then I think we're possibly okay at that. James Tavernier, although he can't go on for forever, I get that completely. I wouldn't be writing him off just yet, because every time we have written him off in the past, up he pops. So
yeah,
I think we're okay. Yeah, we always should keep an eye on good, promising players, though. I think it's a fair point.
Yeah. Just keeping with the Robocop theme, Stephen Gillespie says, I think Tav might be Robocop. Yeah, he is. He's a machine, that's for sure. There's no doubt about it. This point from John Adams is an interesting one, and I totally agree, Stevie. He says we need more Scottish players. As much as these prospective signings are exciting, I would still like more Scots in and around the squad and contributing as well. Thoughts on that? I think we've discussed it before, haven't we? We should be looking closer to home players. We've identified a number of young players that playing for the likes of Aberdeen, Motherwell, Hibs that Rangers should be keeping tabs on.
Yeah, I've seen the young boy Watson was in top 10 promising midfielders in Europe. Maybe seen that on the internet. So he's one that we've spoke about. We've spoken obviously about Connor Barron, about being potentially an obvious, perhaps, Bosman deal if that was possible. Then you've got Lennon Miller at Motherwell, who I think's a complete no-brainer. I think that boy positionally, midfield-wise, is a really exciting talent. If you could, we need to get in there first on these type of deals. So there's 2 or 3 immediately, Derek, that we're talking about. Obviously, there's some other Scottish players. There might have been a striker, 1 or 2 linked every single hour in this transfer window. So there's Scottish players out there, and I would agree that the backbone of every Rangers team, I think, has got a good score of Scots in it. When you look at even Dick Advocaat, one of his pivotal first signings was Neil McCann. And I think November time, and it came out of the blue, and he was a revelation for Rangers, obviously. And then you look at the likes of Walter Smith, when he came back in, first thing he went and done was got Davy Weir and Kevin Thompson, guys like that. So I'm not against it, not at all. I think that sometimes we get confused by the excitement of foreign transfers and we miss maybe some really good ones right on our doorstep. So we have discussed this, Derek, I think, on one of the Q&As and one of the shows a couple of weeks ago. It's definitely an area that we should be looking at. And I've got no complaints about that. If we looked at the league, there is a few good talents in there, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning to Brian. He gets in touch from Bothell in California. Says Max Johnston was a sign that we should have been all over in the summer. Dave Fulton with a point. He says, any noise out of the club about us moving for a striker before Thursday's deadline? I'm not too sure the position, Dave, but I know Rangers are hoping to add another one before the window closes. We're expecting a busy end to the window, as Philip Clement said over the weekend. Stevie, would you like to see a proper number 9 coming in before the window shuts, or do you think should Jefte and Cortes arrive, do you think you'd be quite satisfied with that business that's been carried out?
Well, I think we may have a proper number 9.
Yeah, big cereal.
Beginning to war. Maybe we should discuss that after the transfer stuff, but because I've got some wee stats on that as well. So
you have been copying Joshua.
I've got help, so I've got somebody fantastic helping me. So actually, if we got a striker, I think it would be tremendous. If you think about, I spoke about this a wee bit actually on my own blog yesterday. If you think about the areas where we needed to strengthen, would we have wanted a left back? Yes. Ridvan's really came on, but if you could have somebody next to him, I think Borna Barisic is entering his last bit at Rangers. Only my own personal opinion. I think he's been a brilliant servant. I would not be in a position to renew his contract, or maybe if there was a possibility of getting some money for him, I might be tempted to put him out. Ridvan, I've went full circle with, from not thinking that he's maybe doing much in the last 4, 5, 6 games. I think he's been exceptional. I think he's really kicking on. For a wee guy, Derek, he does tremendously well in the air. He's always up there. He's good on the ground. He bombs forward. He's maybe not as clinical crossing wise and things as Borna, but he plays differently. He can invert a lot more. He's more direct. I think he runs straight at the throat of teams more than Borna would, and he doesn't have the fear of getting to the halfway line and then coming straight back. So I'm all for Ridvan at this moment. So if you consider we've strengthened that, and there's a possibility as well that this boy Jefte can actually play left wing too, and a wee bit further forward. Excuse me. So that's an interesting possibility. Then you got a midfielder in Diamandi. We need somebody in the final third that's maybe better, more conviction. Could he be that guy? So they've addressed that. A winger, right-sided. Maybe Jefte can play in the left. That's good. So where else do you need? You need a forward, I think, because if Cyril was to get injured, we'd be in big trouble. Kamar Roof's out for a couple of months, and we'll be lucky if we see Danilo before the end of the season, although we're with him completely in his recovery. And then that leaves us quite short. So Zach Lovelace could come in, but he's still getting back to fitness as well. So, which is a shame. I think he might have seen some game time, Derek, but unfortunately, his injury. I think that a number 9 would be great. I think we all know who's been speculated over, but the way that Niels Coppin and Philip Clement are moving in this window, I wouldn't be surprised if you've seen a 20-year-old striker from abroad pop up with a real exciting sell on, maybe a loan to buy kind of thing. I don't know how many loans we can possibly take. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. But if we could get another forward, Derek, I think we've had a really productive window. And yes, right, okay, you then have the caveat of, are they going to be able to come in and settle, and are they going to do well? I understand that completely. But it's a strategy, Derek, all of a sudden. guys. I think that Diamandi's 22, Jefte and Oscar Cortes are 20. This is a strategy now that we're actually implementing where you can see exciting young talent coming in. Obviously, the idea is make them flourish, get the best out of them for a couple of years, put them out the door for top money. There's sell-on, there's potential. It's everything we've actually spoke about. So I wouldn't be surprised if there could be another one coming in. And the boys saying we're allowed 6 loans, great. I wasn't too sure of.
Yeah, there's a bit of Jabite. Gaz is saying 5 loans is a limit, so it's between 5 and 6. We'll check
Still
that
got
out.
room for one more then, so we'll take that as being the ballpark of 5 or 6. But fair plays to the boys for posting that. I wasn't sure if we could get one more maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if a striker pops up somewhere, Derek. And if that is the business, then great. And for what it's worth, I've heard absolutely nothing about what's going on and rumour-wise and stuff. So it's quite exciting that it seems like more or less any minute a new rumour could appear. So I'm looking forward to it. And I think if we manage to get a forward in, that would be great business.
Yeah. I mean, after a couple of weeks when there wasn't much happening, Fabio Silva obviously signed at the start of the window, but now it really is hotting up as we head closer to deadline day. Incidentally, folks, many of you were asking, will there be a deadline day show? There will be a deadline day show, and hopefully we'll have a lot more to talk about than what we did in the summertime. So we will be on. We'll kick off proceedings at 9 p.m. And we'll go on until late on, around about a 3-hour show. So I'll be on alongside Stevie will be there, Johnny will be on, Joshua, Chris, and maybe 1 or 2 others as well. Looking forward to it, Stevie. I know the one a few months ago, I mean, it was a great show, but there wasn't there wasn't any signings to Rangers had done all their business prior to deadline day, but very much looking forward to another marathon show on Thursday.
Yeah, we always find something to discuss, don't we? So even if nothing has happened or nothing is going to be happening, then I'm sure we'll find Rangers discussion to have. But you never know, Derek. The way it's going, and with all these deals kind of people arriving and things like that, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few deadline day deals for Rangers because, with Cortes maybe arriving and maybe Jefte, wherever he is, that could take a couple of days for these boys to get here and stuff. So I reckon we'll have lots of stuff to discuss, and it certainly will be a good show. Just make sure I'm not on with Johnny, and then we'll get on fine. So,
Joshua called me prior to us coming on the video, Stevie. So they might be needing to do a bit of rejigging the schedule. Let's put it that way. But very much.
Me and Johnny have we have a great laugh when we're on, but the big man knows that it's just banter, doesn't he? So that was me, by the way. I'm just preparing my Cyril Desser stats, Derek. I was getting them up there on the phone as if we're going to talk about him with regards to obviously what we had said before and kind of finishing up the show because I think we've covered all the transfers, haven't we? So
we'll get on to him very shortly indeed. First of all, I'll address this. Scott Wiley says if Jefte plays on the left, can we just call him Lefty? No. We're not having that, Scott. Absolutely not. And Maka, just before we go on to Odessa, says, what about outgoings, Derek? Yeah, well, Cifuentes, as we touched on, I believe that Rangers keen on offloading Ben Davis. Whether they can find a club for him to go to this window remains to be seen. Any others? We touched on you there, Stevie. Ridvan, we all know the noise round about Ridvan. Galatasaray yet to meet Rangers asking price.
Derek, sorry, and I don't know what people think. See if Galatasaray aren't going to pay 5-6 million that we want, fine.
They've got the cash now.
Well, they've just sold the boy for 30 million.
Exactly.
So I think that genuinely, if we keep him and he keeps playing, I think in the summertime we might be in a position to say, well, actually, the price is now 7-8 million. So I'm in no rush. I think Ridvan, credit where it's due. He's really performed, and I don't think we should be in any rush at the moment. I think he's really flourishing, which is, similar to what we've seen over a number of other players under Clement. He's come in, he looks transformed to what he is. So I'm in no rush there, Derek. Sorry to interrupt you with that.
No, that's fine. Let's get on to big Cyril then, Stevie, because you've been culminating a lot of stats there that you're going to share with the viewers and the listeners. But listen, his turnaround in form since the new manager has come in, like many players, it's fair to say, but he is the main one. I've certainly, I've changed my opinion on him. I said, I think just prior to the winter break, there was a lot of talk about Rangers offloading both he and Sam Lammers. I felt he could do a job as a squad player, but he's now, well, he's the only strict man to lead the line for Rangers at this moment in time, as we touched on. No Danilo and Kamar Roof. So the onus is on Big Serial to get the goals, and he is doing just that. It was a match winner at the weekend. His improvement, he's leading the line a lot better. What have you made of his performances of late, Stevie?
Well, it's been a complete U-turn, hasn't it? Because if you'd asked me 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, I would have said he's doing fine. It wouldn't be against him moving on. I think that he's completely changed our perception of him because he's passing the eye test. Not only is he finishing, which we'll come to in a wee second, but his all-round play, he's holding up the ball. His movement's good. His movement actually was terrific for the goal at Easter Road. He found that wee pocket of space, and he knew where to be after the press. He said he practiced that, so he knew where to be. His finish at Easter Road was ridiculous. At Dumbarton, he missed 3 or 4 chances. Never put his head down, Derek, which is the most impressive, and I'll come to that in a wee second. Finishes, and then obviously having scored against Copenhagen, then with a really good wee dink finish as well, goes to Paisley, and that was actually a brilliant goal. The goalkeeper's coming out, he's got one touch and then a very quick finish. Everything, he seems to weight the finishes really well. Like, see when he's rolling it in the corner, he's done it a couple of times, and then that finish at the weekend, he seems to have a really good grasp of the weight of the finish, which I really like about him. But just, I'm going to chuck a couple of stats at you. Under Michael Beale, he had 3 goals and 3 assists in 15 appearances. Under Philippe Clement, he's got 18 appearances, 9 goals, 4 assists, and he's averaging 0.72 per 90 minutes. Yeah. So this is why we're now changing our opinion, because it's a complete turn in not only form, but the perception that we have of him now is different. And the thing is as well, Derek, this support loves an underdog. They love somebody that fights back, somebody that was written off, somebody that storms back and proves everybody wrong. The supporters love it. And they're now pulling for Cyril Dessers. They're chanting his name. They're singing about him. And I think it's brilliant to watch, because I would, as I said to you, I wasn't sure about him at all. And I would have quite happily said that he would have been somebody to move on this January. But the complete turn in form has been great. And do you know what? He's absolutely brilliant to deal with as well. He's such a lovely guy. He speaks really well. And I love the way he speaks. When he was asked last week quite a pointed question about supporters not liking him and thinking he was bad and stuff, and his answer to it was incredibly good. And he just says, you know what, I'm growing and I love the pressure. He never says, oh, you know, they shouldn't be saying it. He took it on board, and he was like, I love it. I love the pressure. I would rather be somewhere where the pressure to win every single week and drawn is a disaster, rather than people that don't care. And the big fella completely embraces it. And this is what I wanted to say. I've saw much better players come here, no disrespect to him, and World Cup winners and all sorts, and falter and not fancy it because they don't have the courage and the ability to play in front of this crowd, which is very hostile. It's very make up your mind very quickly. We know that. But the big man has completely embraced it. And you know what? All credit to him. And who would think, or who would have thought, that in the next couple of months the big fella could be firing us to silverware and glory, because that's where he is. So I think that not only the stats, which only tell half a story, Derek, I think he's one that's returned from this wee January break, and he looks like a completely re-energised player. And the point about Ronald de Boer, I think spot on. So all credit to him. I think he's been really good. And hopefully he continues, because at the end of the day, if he's scoring winners and we're winning games and he's scoring goals, then everybody's going to be happy with him. So well done to him.
Yeah, I remember, I've said this before, folks, when he was signing, I spoke to Johan Brinkel at the Feyenoord podcast, and he told me about him, and he wasn't best pleased that Feyenoord were signing him initially, but he said he'd prove them wrong come the end of the season. It was that sort of not happening for him in the first half of the season. Came back from the winter break and was just banging in goals for fun. Fired them into the Conference League final, and they were gutted not to sign him permanently. So it certainly looks like history is repeating itself. He is answering the doubters. Long may it continue. Just on said World Cup winner, Nevitt says, "Give us." Yeah, absolutely. Remember when he came. Amazing to think he played in that World Cup final for France when they beat Brazil 3-0. He scored 2 goals in his debut, incidentally, when Rangers thumped St Johnstone 7-0 up there at McDermott Park. Scored a beauty. But didn't fancy it. Stevie's now selling swimming pools over in his native France. But that is one that never quite worked, was it?
No, it was not. He was the one that I was kind of hinting at. But, there's been other players that have came in, with big reputations, and they're going to do this and that, and just never really had the attitude. And I think that we've said a lot about Cyril, but he has the attitude and the determination. And I really like how he speaks to the media and how he kind of conducts himself. So no, I must admit, I'm becoming a bit of a fan of his. He's completely kind of swung me 360, if you like. Or 180 rather, whatever way you want to put. What's the saying? Whatever the saying is.
Players can do that. So, I know some people were saying sort of Mark Hateley had a difficult start to his career.
Not to that level, because Hateley, you were always sure of his ability. Hateley had 30 odd caps when he came to Rangers for England, so it wasn't like you were signing somebody that had to prove you wrong. He had a horrific ankle injury at Monaco. So by the time he came here, we knew of his credentials. So there was a bit of grumbling. But nobody was ever saying this guy was rubbish. We were grumbling, and then Mark came on. But I don't think there's not been too many, Derek, that have came in and looked like they were miles off it. Had a crowd boo them, cheer when they're going off, and completely swing it round where they're now chanting his name. So I think when you think about it, the mental strength and the character that he's shown to overcome that and get in the position where he is now, I think, is absolutely testament to him. So, yes, it may sound like we're giving him high praise, but I think he deserves it. And I just hope that it continues because, as I said, we love an underdog. We love somebody that kind of storms back and changes everybody's mind. So I would love it to be him. Yeah, definitely. Right, folks, that'll do us there. Just a heads up, on the website, you can find a great scout report. Joshua spent a great bit of time looking at Oscar Cortes in detail. So do go and check it out. If you prefer to watch your content, I spoke to Stell, our favourite Cypriot football expert, yesterday on Jefte. Go and check that out. And also Lucas Collin, who he works for a Canal Plus over covers the Premier League for the French broadcaster, but also contributes to Alon's podcast. And he told us a great deal about Cortes as well. So do go and check that out, folks. Plenty to come your way. As I mentioned, deadline day show coming on Thursday evening as well. So lots to look forward to. If there's any news that breaks transfer-wise, you'll hear it first on the Rangers Review website, on the social media channels, and on YouTube as well. Thanks to Stevie, as ever. He's away for a nap, I'm sure. And thanks to everyone for interacting with the show. We'll speak to you again tomorrow if we don't speak to you before then. So until then, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Bye for now.